At this point in the tournament, and even since day one, you're playing a real quality opponent. I think Iowa's one of the better programs in the country right now, and for us to come out that way and beat a quality pitcher, I thought we did it with a great start, great defense, and some timely hitting. So it was a great effort by our guys.
All right, thank you, student athletes. You're dismissed.
Just so you know, that's exactly how we drew up the first inning. We practice it like that all the time. The guy kicked off, the guy thrown out, take a third strike. I mean, we couldn't do it any better than we did in the first.
You guys can go ahead with questions for Coach.
Just that dopamine, though, I think that's a testament to an experienced veteran team where Bragg could have hung his head, but he comes back and himself has a double play, you know, to the diving bunt, grabbing the first base throw. So, did you see your team show the character that you kind of expect this team to do?
Well, there's a maturity there, definitely, with the older kids, and they understand it. I'm probably the one most mad in the dugout, and Brad's a very coachable kid and takes it and takes a lot of ownership of his game and came out and played great after that. And it's a sign of a great team. We give a shirt out at the end of every game, and I give it to Kanji because when you bounce back after a first inning like that could ruin your game sometimes if you don't take advantage of it. And for him to come out and get a huge 2-out hit like that, it just like our team didn't even care, which is the attitude you got to have in the postseason.
But at the same time, you know, yesterday we just saw two experienced senior-laden teams go home after going completely to pieces after a long losing streak. You had a similar losing streak and then bounced back to become one of the hotter teams in the country. What sets your team apart?
You know, that's a tough one. I mean, part of our losing streak was we were missing some guys that were a big part, and it put some stress on some other guys. But we got a great group. I've said this locally back in Bloomington that I'm so thankful as a first-year head coach to have such a great senior class that held it together. And it's the program means a lot to those kids. You were asking earlier about the program, how much the program means to them, and they just weren't going to let it fall. Their mindset was, and they just kept fighting and fighting. And believe me, we took some on the nose, took some on the chin, but they just wouldn't give in. I think that attitude now has made us a really good team because we went through a hard schedule and some hard times, and I think that's something we're leaning on a lot right now.
What were Logan's skills you liked the most coming in and seeing him get something like, you know, a grand slam, you know, in the postseason? Just, you know, what do you feel that showed?
You know, I think everybody knew coming out of high school Logan could hit, and there was a little bit of swing and miss, which we see, and some strikeouts every once in a while. I've been so impressed by his maturity. He just hadn't played like a freshman all year, and over the last couple of weeks there have been some big home runs by Logan Sowers or big hits, and the maturity of, you know, he's a really good defender. He's a really good base runner. You would think he's just a power hitter, but he has some pieces of his game that are advanced beyond being a freshman, which is exciting. And I think that's why he's able to step up in some of those big moments. I can go back to Cal State Fulton or Stanford from the beginning of the year. He had big hits in all our big series, and just a kid we've been able to lean on.
I know you mentioned it in some of the other members of the staff, but Nick Ramos, when he came back, solidifies that, lined up the defense. And I don't think without him getting on base, those big innings don't happen for you guys.
Exactly. I think Nick's been a huge addition. I mean, when we came back and we played Maryland last time, there were 6 plays. He made 6 or 7 ground ball outs that the normal college shortstop doesn't make. And he's just very advanced in that way. And his bat, he has a knack. He's in the middle of all our big innings. So in the game where Donnelly hit the double yesterday, he had a huge walk. Just a walk of just taking the walk, and then we're able to keep that inning going. He's been the huge addition, the spark that really when we took off at Maryland.
You've been around college baseball for a long time, know the game nationally. You know, Indiana, where it was to where it got to where you guys are kind of looking like it's going to be sustained. Just, you know, how do you keep it to where it is? And do you feel IU's getting to the point year in, year out, it ought to be a national level program?
Yes, I do. We're a postseason program, and we preach it to our guys all the time. I think you go back a little bit to our administration and the commitment they made, which is outstanding, without Fred Glass and everybody else giving us the beautiful ballpark, Mark Kaufman Field. But even with Skip, Tracy Smith before me, it's about players. You have to have great players, and he was able to recruit great players to that stadium, and we're working on it right now, recruiting great players there, because you don't win without great players. Our whole league's filled with good coaches. It's, you know, you got to be good coaches who have great players, and that's a big part of our success at Indiana. And if you look at us in our part of the country, Indiana as a whole is a great baseball state. So we feel like we can sustain it.
Kind of continuing that on, it seems like it's not just one or two schools. The Big Ten has risen. You know, you look at the last 10, 12, 15 years, it's gotten 1, 2, maybe occasionally 3. Now you're looking at 4, maybe 5, and it looks like a number of programs have jumped. Where's the Big Ten now? I mean, has it really taken a jump?
I think it has. I really do. I think we're at our height right now. The key is going to be, can we sustain it? I think most of our schools in our league have made a huge commitment financially to saying, hey, baseball is going to be strong. And our part of the country is very good in baseball. The Midwest is a good baseball area. You'll see Midwest kids playing all over the country. Our goal now as Midwest baseball coaches is to keep them here, keep them in Indiana, or keep them in the Big Ten, or whatever it might be. Because I've been blown away, and it's not just Indiana. When you come to some of these Big Ten campuses, the schools are unbelievable. I mean, it's just like I said, it's just not Indiana. It's great academics. It's beautiful campuses. It's great facilities. It's great sports all the way across the board. And the life of a student athlete is huge in our league. And you can say that for everywhere. You can go to Ohio State, or you can go to Iowa, or you can go to Michigan. Go there in the fall and go to a football game or something. You're blown away by the college experience. And I think that's our big sell to these kids.
We have time for one last question for Coach.
Where are you in terms of pitching for the rest of the tournament? What arms do you have available right now? We
got a lot. I mean, I'm excited. We'll start. I got in trouble for saying it yesterday. My pitching coach said, "Shouldn't we talk about it?" We got. Our guys. We still got a couple starters still left. We got a fresh bullpen. We'll take it one game at a time. All hands will be on board for 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Looking at probably Caleb Berger, who's a guy who started every weekend for us this year, and beat Maryland a couple weeks ago in a great outing. So we still have him available, and our bullpen's pretty fresh. So I like where we're at. Asked me Sunday afternoon, that it could be a little different, but for a team coming through the losers bracket, what Christian did today was huge for us.
You said you were well suited back on Wednesday to do that. Have things gone pretty much according to plan so far?
I think so. I mean, I think our 2 starts have been pretty solid. The one thing about us all year, we've been like a bullpen team. So we have a lot of guys with a lot of versatility. Some have started, some have come out of the bullpen. So they're used to coming back on a little shorter rest than some guys. So we have a lot of options right now left to pitch, and some very talented kids still that haven't picked up the ball yet. So we'll see how they do. Maryland will be a very tough opponent. So a lot of respect for their program.
Thank you, Coach.